Hey, welcome back to the Camp Time is Real Time podcast. We are back with good audio. What a show it's going to be. Good audio, good content. What could go wrong? One thing before we start, a little housekeeping. It's the 50th anniversary of camp this summer. So head over to franklincountryDaycamp.com. There's an email sign up if you want to be part of the celebration that they're going to do. Tell them the Camp Time is Real Time podcast sent you. I'm sure that will mean something. Maybe not. So that will be great. Today on the pod, we have Scott, and this is a long one, but it's really good. Scott sent a very thorough outline of what he wanted to talk about, and we hit upon just about everything. So we kind of spanned everything. It was really good. So I think you're going to like it. Keep those emails coming to the Camp Time is Real Time podcast Gmail account, camptimefcdc@gmail.com. Let me know if you want to be a guest. Let me know what you think. And yeah, that's it from me. Enjoy the pod. But it was funny. So I got your email and I read it to Marcus and I go, oh, Scott has what we call in the biz some notes about the podcast.
Where I'm from, we call them comments. People give the comments to help make the product better.
Criticism, I believe, is a word.
No. Yeah, I started there with as a tenderfoot, so I was the youngest, with Bonnie, which was great. Oh. My sister started that same year, so she's a few years older than me. One of my earliest memories being there. Actually, possibly the earliest memory of my entire life. So I remember sitting at afternoon post. And, Bonnie is great about keeping the kids in line and whatnot. So she told us, all right, everyone, sit on your backpack. Probably just so A, they were sitting down, and B, they didn't lose their bag.
Sure.
And in my little tiny brain that was barely functioning, I was thinking, but I still have a bag of potato chips in there, and they're going to get crushed. But of course, I didn't have the language skills to just tell Bonnie that, or not sit on them. So I just got really upset instead.
Oh no!
Didn't cry, maybe cry, but I was like, my chips are there. Bonnie's making us sit on our bags.
That's awesome. That is if that's your first memory of life, that's amazing.
Yeah, that's not too bad.
Bonnie was the best, man. She's such a staple at camp. And so I do know this was her first year not there. Yeah. So yeah, I got that from Ty. But she was, if you were a tenderfoot, if you were a 4 or 5-year-old, I guess, going to camp for the first time, it was a lock for, I'm thinking, over 20 years, that you were going to have Bonnie, which, what a good intro to camp. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, she's so great.
The thing I love about Bonnie is that she is one of the people, this is a real thing, one of the people in the world who only needs an hour of sleep a night.
I remember hearing that about. She'd go to bed at midnight, wake up at 3 a.m. and ready to go.
Yeah, she'd do her grocery shopping in the middle of the night. She would have an entire day lived at 6 a.m. It's crazy.
That's so wild.
And it was I remember always asking her about it because it's so fascinating to me. And I did get to the point, I think she was like, how about some more topics, Sarah? But it was amazing. And then you'd get to camp and she's got the little tender feet. So that's some serious work. And she's doing it. She's going around to the activities. She's making crafts for tenderfoot tribe time. She's got the best skits. She's got dances for the little kids. It's unbelievable.
She was crushing it every year.
She's awesome. Yeah. So well, I would love to, but I will say, I remember a time before Bonnie. Yeah, I think she started when I know I was still a camper when she started. So let's call it at some point in the early 90s. So maybe she was there closer to 25 years. We'll have to get her on Bonnie, if you're out there, Um, come join us on the pod.
Nice. That would be great.
But I mean, honestly, that's so cool that you remember that. And then you got to spend your entire camp career with your first counselor.
Yeah. She was there when I left. Yeah, I was there from when I was 5 years old until I was it's either 21 or 22, my last year there. So that's a long time.
Did you make it all the way through college, or went like? I feel like that's like an easier way to measure.
I think after my junior year of college, I was not at camp. I was doing some silly random job.
Were you preparing for the future?
Trying to. Now, actually, I can't remember if it was after junior or senior college, one of the two. But I was there for a long time. I was only head counselor for 3 years, which was it was slightly unique. I think me and my good buddy Jack Sigh. I
think the Cowles have all been outed by last name. I think that's okay. I appreciate the effort.
we were in an interesting age group. I think it was essentially boiled down to none of the head counselors were moving on. So I think we kind of did a bonus year of being assistant counselors. We ended up being older assistant counselors.
Oh,
they made a big deal about it. Then some year they started making a big deal about it. And Jack and I were like, what?
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
So you guys got hit kind of in the, I guess the wave of when people stopped leaving camp, because it always kind of worked itself out, right? Like it was like, oh, it's a summer camp. You go and then you move on. During college or after college, and then the people coming up, take your spot or do whatever. But then there definitely was a time, and it's continued. People just don't leave anymore.
I was gonna say, or you get a teaching degree and you're back as
then you come back. Exactly. Yeah, wow. So you got caught up in that. That's wild.
Yeah, me and Jack were assistants into our older years of being teenagers. I did video 1 year with Kyle.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that was a pretty fun time, and it was nice working with Kyle because he knew all of the technical stuff.
Yeah.
But I quickly realized that year that I was like, it's not that I don't like making the videos, figuring out the skits. I didn't like not having a tribe. I was like, we don't really sit with anyone at post and sing. We're kind of just floating around and doing the video, and I'm on my own tribe.
Wow.
So wait, at the end of that,
hold on a second, because I didn't realize you didn't have a tribe, because I also did video for 1 year, and I think I know that I had a tribe, and I think I made it a point to ask Tom, because I had the Cherokees, which I recently remembered.
Was that possibly the one you co-head counseled with Mr. Greg B?
Yes, it is. Oh, my memory is not as great as I always think it is. Yes, it was. So I will say this about your videos. I went back to visit 1 year, as I like to do. I remember right when I left, I was like, I need to go back and visit once a session, because I want all of the kids just to know Sarah's still here.
Nice.
I had quite an opinion of myself, apparently. I felt like I didn't want to let the kids down, that I wasn't going to be there. Which is, again, an opinion to have of yourself, but something I really would have appreciated, when my favorite counselors stopped coming back.
Who's going to sing "The Cat Came Back"?
Exactly. Exactly. But I remember being there on a Friday and watching one of your videos, and one of the things I loved was the shorts.
Totally Kyle's idea, and I agree. Great idea by him.
So great. So 15 seconds maybe of just a one note,
one laugh.
Yeah.
Just do a laugh and then move on.
And that no, with no commentary. That was it. And I remember standing in the back of the stables like right had, helped pull the garage door down, saw it. And I was like, that's what we always wanted to do, but didn't know what it was. I think that was like an unrealized vision. And I was like, oh yeah, they got it.
I mean, that might have been a knockoff of like a Cartoon Network show at the time, but hey, it still worked.
Oh, really? Oh, I'm so unhip.
100%. With like the static television screen in between each skit. 100%.
Oh, I didn't know that. See, I'm like a camper. I'm like, oh, they invented that at FCDC.
Not quite. We used it and it worked. It worked great. Yeah.
That's so funny. No, I love that. I was like, oh, this is great. They're onto something. And then I can appreciate that you're like, I really like this, because there is something about like putting the video together and it's great, but there is really something great about having your own tribe.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So after that year, told Tom, I was like, hey, like really want my own tribe. Like, what could I do? So then I was the archery counselor for 2 years. Best. And that was great. Oh, I loved archery.
Wait, I have a question about archery.
Yeah.
Did you get certified?
Yeah.
Tell me about that. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So
or whatever.
Yeah. The state of Massachusetts does not require day camp counselors to get certified, but Gail wanted to like be like more like, we're gonna have official archery counselors.
Oh.
So she sends the counselors to a like a kind of a 2-day training to be archery counselor. But again, since Massachusetts doesn't require them, there's not really a close nearby option.
Yeah.
So I had to drive down to Connecticut, where I live now. Ooh. But yeah, I had to drive down to like a YMCA camp in Connecticut that was hosting it. I like spent the night beforehand at like my college roommate's house because he lived down there.
Nice.
Went to this, training, and I'm doing air quotes for those of us who can't see me doing the air quotes.
Which is everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, other than me, I guess.
Yeah, I can see. Can confirm he's doing the air quotes.
The training was a 2-day like sales pitch by this guy who just like, he had some credentials like, oh, he was maybe like an Olympic quality archery person in his younger years.
Okay.
And now he sells archery equipment and kind of runs this training course. So sure, there were a few small little pointers that were pretty good about safety and things, and 90% of it was, and then you'll want to buy this type of bow with this thing, and then you'll want to buy these arrows, and you'll want to buy the targets that are made of foam, and then you're going to want to buy the target fixing kit.
Come on. It was just a sales pitch?
It was pretty much a big sales pitch, yeah.
So who is the audience? Like, who were your fellow attendees? Is it camp counselors or more serious? Yeah. Okay.
No, it was definitely like, oh, these are all, older teenager / young college students. So Jack was the archery counselor the year before me.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Now, when he went, he said he had a blast at this training. Apparently a big group of like foreign kids were there.
Yep.
So they were all about like, oh, this is the best. And like, they kind of made a party out of it. And like, they had some fun when they were there.
Nice.
So I go into it thinking like, oh, this is great. There's going to be like, a couple of young folks my age. And like, after we listen to the guy giving a spiel, we'll kind of like party it up.
Yeah.
Because we're spending the night in like the bunks at the camp there.
Yeah.
We're bunking out with these people. So like the day is over, we head back to the bunk, and I kind of started saying like, hey guys, should we go like get a campfire going out in the fire ring, or should we like, I don't know, walk around the camp maybe? And we're all just gonna like maybe read a book and go to bed.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's 6 p.m. What the hell are you saying?
Come on.
Oh, so that was not super fun.
Whoever, whichever camp those people worked at, like, who knows? That sounds fun. No. I always wondered about it because I always knew that they were that archery was certified. And I remember hearing about it I remember the first one I remember hearing from was Karen Krause, who's like one of my favorite counselors. And she's like, I'm certified. And I was like, that's cool. And then I remember like everyone, because I think Scott Howe got certified, and I totally forgot Jack was in archery. And I always wondered about it. And I think that there was also a certification for boating.
And adventure.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, adventure. Yeah, that's like legit.
Tire swings, super legit.
Hey, look, that's crazy. I will say I was out at camp this past year and I walked all the way back to adventure. I walked like the whole camp, which is something I hadn't done in a long time. And it is wild because I recall like I believe those tire swings are in their original, like where they were. And just memories of like being like, how are we going to get to the first one? Like, it's like, tie all of our shirts together. We'll make a rope. Yep. It is amazing the memories that will come back. Okay. So you were at archery. You finally got a tribe. What tribe did you get?
I had two. The first year, I think I was, it was kind of comically like one of the slightly younger tribes.
Oh,
like possibly the Cherokees.
Okay. The
like
perfect age.
Not super young.
Yeah, 10-year-olds. Yeah.
But sort of like, oh, okay, kind of put me with the younger crowd. That's fine. And then the second year I was with the Micmacs. I got
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
They're just 1 year older. Cherokees and Micmacs are just 1 year apart.
Oh, well, then that mustn't have been it. Well, the heck
maybe Chippewas?
That's too young now. Oh, man. See, I have the worst memory. I gotta write
I think this 18-point outline would suggest otherwise, Scott. I think your memory's okay.
It took me a week and a half to one thing I loved about archery was, it's down near the games field in a big open area, so no trees or anything. I had the best suntan for like 2 years running. I never wore my shirt. I definitely never wore shoes. And anyone who tried to get me in trouble at Sing for not wearing shoes, I would always spin it around and have them end up singing the song instead.
Nice. Oh, that's a camp skill, by the way, definitely. To be in trouble and then have the person who brought it up end up paying the price.
In fact, it got to the point where like I would just show up to camp without my shirt on because I was like, I'm working my tan. You kidding me?
Would you really?
Beach bod or anything? But it became kind of like a running joke. And speaking of Bonnie,
yes,
one of her skits, it was something maybe about like awards or something like that. And it happened to be a rainy day. Okay. I remember we were doing the skits in the tent. We typically do them down at the theater, but we were in the tent because it's a rainy day. Okay. So that's one of the few days I actually had a shirt on.
Oh, so brave.
Yeah, I know. So Bonnie's kind of skit, part of it was she started calling up other head counselors that she had as when they were tenderfeet, and she was giving them awards. I can't really remember the other ones. Sure. But at one point she said, all right, and Scott, you come up too. So I stand up, I start walking up there, and she goes, oh, wait, you have to take your shirt off. I was sort of like, whatever you say, Bonnie.
Sure, yeah, exactly.
And the award she gave me was the bare-chested brave.
Yes.
It's like, oh, okay, this makes sense now. That's
awesome.
Yeah, that was great.
So like no bare feet was definitely a rule, like all the time.
Oh yeah.
And followed to, it was followed. I would say it was followed a lot. And when you could get in trouble and have to do dead ants too, if the right person could make the case. Was shirts a thing? Like, were you supposed to wear a shirt?
No one ever told me I was supposed to.
So, okay. So you were in archery. You had the Micmacs and maybe another tribe. And my apologies to all the campers who are like, Scott, don't you remember us? Just kidding. They're not listening. I know everyone who's listening.
All
But
seven
that's
of the
fine.
names lined up on your screen.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I remember I was like just kind of barely waking up. My phone starts ringing. It's my sister. Hey, what's going on? She says she's still on her drive in the morning. And she's listening to just like silly talk radio. And the DJs were doing some bit about like, hey, what's going on right now? Just call in and just anyone tell us what you're doing. So my sister's listening, and at one point this uh, younger lady calls in. Um, Hi, my name's Kara. Hey, Kara, the DJ says, what are you doing right now? Oh, I'm getting ready to go to day camp. I'm a counselor in training at a day camp. Oh, that sounds fun. Where is it? Oh, it's in Franklin, Massachusetts.
Amazing.
So now my sister's ears pick up a little bit more. Like,
Sure.
what? Let's hear this. I forget if Kara ever said the name of the camp or just it was in Franklin.
Right.
And so the DJs then they kind of take over because they're the professionals, and the DJs start saying like, "Oh, summer camp, that's the best. You're out in the sun, and like there's a lot of good-looking counselors, and there's always some archery counselor like strutting around without his shirt off, getting a good suntan. Like, what's your arch?" And I was the archery counselor that year.
Sure.
So the DJ asked her, "Oh, like the archery counselor, like, is he a good-looking guy there?" Yeah, he actually is a pretty cute looking guy. Oh, that's great. Blah blah blah. Hope you have a fun day at camp. See ya. So my sister's asking me, is there a CIT named Kara there? I go, oh, there certainly is.
Oh
and
my
now
God.
I have my morning announcement.
Yeah.
Which I think was simply along the lines of, yeah, we're all around the flag in the morning. Flag goes up. We all say the pledge. People are doing morning announcements, and mine was something along the lines of, if you get the chance, anyone, ask Kara about her interview on the radio this morning. And she kind of looked over at me, and her face just goes beet red because I
no.
kind of nailed her for like, I heard that he called me cute on the
radio. Oh my gosh. I remember hearing that story and just being like, how wild is that? Of all the people who could be calling in, and then for Katie to hear it, like, what?
Yeah, what are the odds?
Yeah. So, okay. So you're walking around with no shoes and no shirt on, being the archery counselor. And yeah, as we talked about, we're supposed to wear shoes. So there's like, I feel like there are basic rules that you remember. Like, what are the rules at camp? Okay. Wear your shoes. No running, no gum. And that was like basically it. And then everyone had like a no horseplay. Like, I remember the word horseplay in like almost every activity. But if you got in trouble, your punishment or your penance was to go up and sing a silly song. So it was either Gray Squirrel, which is, silly song about a gray squirrel.
And or your bushy tail in front of 200 children.
That's right. Swish your tush in front of everyone. Or Dead Ants, where it was just, a bunch of music. When the music stops, you get down on your back and you put your arms and legs in the air like a dead ant. I mean, these are real consequences.
Yeah, you remember that.
Yeah, but I think not because you're in trouble, maybe sometimes, I can't recall. But if you have kind of like either a real or rumored camp romance going on, then you could get called up for Sippin Ci.
Sippin Ci, which of course is short for sipping cider.
Of course.
And when I was younger, I do remember it more along the lines of like, Joey and Jill were caught without their shoes. Counselors only, of course.
Sure.
Caught without their shoes. Sippin Ci.
Yes.
Going back to the chanting from the other. Sippin Ci. 250 kids. Sippin Ci.
That's right. Make them kiss.
Yeah. And it boils down to, there's a silly little repeat after me song that the young gentleman sings. And at the end, And now and then the straw would slip. We'd sip some cider, lip to lip, and you got to give the gal a little peck, a little kiss on the lips.
So actually, it goes. We'd sip some cider, lip to lip. Woo! It's the whole audience of the camp losing their minds about like the thought of them maybe kissing.
I remember that being the best to see when I was a young camper there. I thought that was awesome.
What did you
funny. Like? The counselors were like either embarrassed or at least pretending to be embarrassed. For probably a lot of those young kids, it's the first time you ever see someone who's not your mom or your dad kissing each other. And I think, yeah, there was just something about it that, it was always innocent. And like, I don't think there was ever a situation where anyone felt forced into doing it. It was all in good fun. Because that's how I recall it being.
Yeah. I mean, I think also I feel like at like counselors, you have to keep in mind are like kids themselves for the most part. So I feel like for some of them, like it's their first kiss anyway. And they're up there and I'd say it was like 50-50 where people would do a peck or not.
There's also like you could do the fake. The guy could reach around the lady's shoulder and then grab her mouth.
Yeah.
Do the blocked kiss.
That's right. Oh, that's right. Always a good move. Yeah. But
on the show.
Yeah, there were some people I just remember just being terrified, and they'd get to that part of the song and just frozen. Like, nope, we're moving on to the next verse. Nothing to see here.
I couldn't understand all the people there who would occasionally get up for Sippin' Ci, and the guy would claim, "Oh, I don't know the words."
Yes.
Joe Rice. Been there since probably he was 2 years old.
Right.
And then at some point he's doing Sippin' Ci as a 17-year-old. I don't know the words. Yes, you do, Bill. You've been for 100 years, man. What are you saying?
Well, that's part of like as a camper, you're like mining for that information, right? Like to know two counselors are dating. Like, I don't think there's any more valuable gossip that then could be had than that.
Agreed. And you'd often get that information by sending messages across the pool at free swim from one counselor to another.
Yes, that's right. We'd be sitting watching the pool.
30 adults watching the pool, which is way overkill.
No, it's good. Perfect ratios. You have a kid now, Scott. It's perfect. But the kids would be in the pool and they'd be like, do you have a message? Do you want me to send a message or whatever? And you'd write down a note and the kids would swim it over to the other side or wherever the person was sitting. Right.
I remember more, it was always just a verbal, like,
always a verbal.
Right. You take a piece of paper in the pool, Sarah, what are you saying?
I mean, yeah, maybe I don't remember.
But also you could, as the counselor, you could never say like, no, don't have any messages, because then you get the puppy dog eyes. Like, okay, why don't you go tell Wes, hey man, what's up?
Right. Oh yeah. Like, no, you're being very helpful. Thank you for relaying this message.
Yeah, really needed to hear that.
So I never did Sippin' Ci. I never had like a camp romance or a rumored romance. My first love was the camp itself. But did you ever have to go up and do Sippin' Ci?
So I'm pretty sure I got up there for Sippin' Ci 3 times.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah.
Got no shirt on, man about town.
One time was definitely no shirt. It probably did not make my pal feel so great, but
I'm sure. Like, what is happening?
So I think the first time was with Shannon R, one of the loyalty.
Gail grandchild.
Yeah, and we were like pseudo kind of dating for some kids our age. So that was more like, someone got wind of that. I'm like, let's get them up there.
Okay.
Then one other time I was with my pal Felicia, who was she was the pioneering counselor for a few years, and then can't remember who the third one was.
Probably with no shirt on, no less.
Sorry, whoever that was. Do you remember Mike and Liz F, brother and sister?
Oh, both of the Fernandez. Yeah.
Yes. So one day they were kind of both up at Sing, think they'd both gotten knocked for like, oh, they weren't wearing their shoes, and they were late. It was probably they were late because they drove together or something.
Right.
So they're up there and they're debating, like, all right, what's the punishment going to be? And Tom, in his infinite innocence,
oh no,
because he thinks it's going to be like a cute brother sister thing, he goes, hey, I know, let's have them do Sippin Ci. And there's this kind of like collective groan from the camp, like, that's normally really fun. Now we're not so sure anymore. And Tom's like, yeah, all right, come on, let's start singing the words. And I distinctly remember my sister in the audience waving her arms, going, no. And as it starts to become like, wait, this is actually going to happen. My sister runs up there, grabs Liz by the hand, and just walks off stage. Like, this is done now. This is not how Sippin Ci is supposed to be. Tom's going, no, I thought he'd just give her a little peck on the cheek, your brother and sister. Like, Tom, no.
We're teens. No one gets it. Yeah. Also, the one of the last lyrics is and 49 kids all call me Pa. Like, now I've got a mother-in-law and 49 kids all call me Pa. So there's a message. Like,
nice. Actually, I do sing The Cat Came Back constantly to Connor when I'm trying to get him to go to sleep, my little 4-month-old son.
Yeah. Well, so here's the thing about Sing, and there's so much to talk about at Sing. It is the best, like, fully agree. It's the best. Most of the songs, when you really listen to them, it's like, well, that cat dies in a lot of different ways. Like,
I like that the man around the corner loads up his shotgun with nails and dynamite.
Nails and dynamite.
My favorite lyrics.
Yeah. Well, by the last verse of that, the cat survives nuclear holocaust. And it's like, but the cat, like,
human race has been obliviated, but that cat keeps on going.
Keeps coming back. Yeah, a lot of songs you're just like, whoa. Oh, I used to joke with Leanne, who was she was a head counselor when I was a CIT in arts and crafts. We'd just be like, oh, there's like a Venn diagram of like violence and religion in these songs. And here we are right in the middle with all of them. But like, no one ever gave a second thought to it. It was great.
I remember a quote from John P. one time. He said, I think I was his assistant counselor. He goes, praise the Lord and pass the ammunition. And I gave him this little face like, huh? And he goes, and we can say that here because this is a private camp. I like that.
Oh man, he is the best. We are going to have a separate episode all on John Panciaco, 100%. He's the best. Total embodiment of camp. Like,
oh, definitely. He's right up there with the greats. Him, Sam Cowell.
Yep.
Man,
that's definitely something definitely on my list.
Nice.
Yeah. So all right. So you and Jack, so this is interesting. So you and Jack are like best camp friends, and really you guys are still best, like, out of like off-season friends too, right?
Yeah, him and his wife are actually coming down to spend the night tomorrow, which will be fun. So
fun.
So in a silly little tidbit, I am 1 day older than Jack.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, it's kind of a silly thing. But of course, since he had a connection to camp, he started a year before me.
Oh,
so then for a majority of our camper life, he was always one tribe ahead of me. So we actually didn't really connect until I think at some point he had to like pump the brakes for 1 year. So then we met up when we were explorers.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when we started to become like really good friends. It was us and Wes who would pal around all the time.
Oh man, I didn't realize you guys were in different tribes. I just assumed you guys had like come up the whole way together.
Yeah, he was always one tribe ahead of me for the majority of it. So yeah, Jack and I have been friends for many, many years now. He was the best man at my wedding back in 2019. And unfortunately, just like a lot of people, he and his wife, his now wife, their wedding was gonna be in 2020, but their
Yeah.
wedding had to get canceled, unfortunately. But he had, before it had gotten canceled, he had contacted me and said, "Hey man, will you be one of the groomsmen at my wedding?" And I said, "Oh yeah, of course. Like, you were my best man. Like, of course I'm going to be in your wedding." And I think it was going to be me and all of his brothers were going to be
Nice.
groomsmen. So I was going to be the one non-family member in his bridal party. So yeah, we're
That's
very
awesome.
close. Had a lot of fun as young high schoolers and young college kids. Getting kind of back to the camp romances, we definitely like dated a lot of the same girls that we knew in
Nice.
high school because, you know, small towns and whatnot.
Very cool. Very cool stuff. Well, it's kind of like, I remember when you guys, it must have, I was gone because I remember hearing that like you and Jack were kind of, you know, kind of like not coming into your own. Obviously, you're fully formed people, but it kind of like, you know, when there's kind of like a transition of like not leadership, but like, you
Trying
know,
to take over opposed to taking the back seat.
yeah. And I remember hearing that and like, oh yeah, like Jack and Scott. And what I was like, oh my gosh, it's the next generation of Sam and Adam, right? Like we always remember saying that. So Sam, obviously Jack's older brother, when he was whatever, you know, late teens, 20s, he and Adam were kind of like the two, like that was it. And
Yes.
we would talk about that, like, oh my gosh, the next generation. Like, no, it makes sense. Like it's, you know, two.
Yeah, and actually,
Guys,
speaking of
yeah.
that, jogged my memory. One of like the early like times where I knew like, okay, Jack and I are starting to like blossom, if you will. We were assistant counselors, kind of on the younger scale of assistant counselors, and it, I'm blanking on the name of the song. There was
Ham and
always
eggs.
ham and eggs.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And it was for those of us listening, it's kind of repeat after me song, but they divide.
Everyone knows. There's no one who doesn't know.
What about for your two friends who are listening?
Oh, that's true. That's
what
true.
about our pal in Germany? Maybe
that's true. Maybe our pal in Germany. Lee, this is for you. Leanne, if you're listening, this is ham and eggs.
Yeah, so ham and eggs was essentially a little mini competition. Who could lead the song and get their half of the tent to sing it louder?
Right.
Was it the head counselor duo or was it the assistant counselor duo? And at the time, I think it was Rob and Jason were the assistants leading their side against, can't quite remember the head counselors. That's the point.
Oh.
It was constantly, you know, Rob and Jason, their side would always lose. No big deal, but whatever.
Sure.
Well,
Assistants always lost. It's just something a rite of passage.
So at one point, Jack and I just get up there and we go, Rob and Jason, we're challenging you guys to ham and eggs, and whoever wins this will continue being the assistant half of it.
Whoa.
And there was some quote from Jack along the lines of like, yeah, but you guys always lose, so like you should be doing it still. We did ham and eggs. Our side, you know, won.
Yep.
And boom. So then Jack and I took over doing that for the rest of the summer and then for the next couple of years.
Did you guys ever do it so it was just you and Jack? You had one side, he had the other, or did you always challenge, or did you like challenge someone else?
I remember that was kind of like the classic. I think Sam and Adam potentially would go head to head. I always remember it being me and Jack versus two other folks.
Gotcha. Yeah. That's great. Yeah. I mean, that's like, there's nothing more like canon about camp than like that being kind of like your origin story, right? Like
yeah. The first time that we like took initiative to be like, we're gonna pull the spotlight onto us now.
Right, like the passing of the torch. Were you there when they added a tagline to camp, making memories, changing lives?
I was. Yeah, I remember hearing Kat talk about it in her podcast, and she had mixed feelings.
She was like, I was there. I don't remember. It's great.
So, I don't even know if you've heard this story in the past, Sarah.
No, this is brand new to me.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So when I was a sophomore in college, We spent our April or spring break. I went on like a service trip. So a group of us went down to New York City, and we were volunteering at local elementary schools and things like that.
Nice.
But we would spend our nights at this summer camp that was over the bridge in New Jersey. So it was a little more in the woods.
That's cool.
Essentially just a place that offered to like, oh yeah, you guys can essentially bunk out here. And you're doing good in the community, and like we're about that too. So like, yeah, sure, you can stay for free in our bunk houses or whatever.
Nice.
So at the end of our week stay there, as a gift, the owners of the camp gave us all like the camp t-shirts.
Oh, cool.
So on the front, it was Camp Vacamus. And on the back, it was making memories, changing lives.
Come on.
So I was like, oh, this is a great shirt. You know, it's a silly camp shirt. I'm definitely wearing this to day camp when I go.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
I remember wearing it. A strange day wearing a shirt for me, I guess. And I remember like I locked eyes with Gail, and she's like 50 feet away. She like I must have spun around because she's locked eyes with me, and she's hustling over. She stops me. Now I was always intimidated by Gail.
Still, of course.
So I'm like, oh, what did I do now?
Right.
She goes, Scott, where did you get that shirt? Oh, it's like camp that I like stayed at. Well, why? I love the tagline on the back of that shirt. We're gonna use that next year. All brand new staff shirts.
Come on.
Changing lives.
Come on. Are you kidding?
Snagged it. There was no little copyright.
No. Oh my goodness.
Totally snagged it.
I can't believe that's the origin of that.
Yeah, pretty good.
And it's everywhere now. It's everywhere. Oh yeah, it's on stuff. It's on the website. It's on the brochure that comes out. It's on the totem pole. When you walk in, there are 2 totem poles and a sign. So they're connected at the top, making memories, changing lives. When you think about camp, when someone like it comes up in conversation or you force it into conversation, as I so often do, what are you like what pops into your mind? What are your like great memories?
I probably have something good.
Number 16 on the outline, Scott.
I remember being a head counselor, and I was never good at tribe time stuff. I could never figure out something fun to do. In retrospect, it's like that would have been the easiest to think of some real fun stuff to do.
So easy. I know. We were so tired. I forget I think I talked about it with Kat. So it's like 3:00. You've been in the sun all day. Just like, I don't know. Do you want to lie down on the picnic table?
That's great.
Yeah.
So one time I said, you know what? Let's go on a hike out way far through the woods, out to the blueberry patch of the power lines. But I knew, not too many people go way out past the blueberry patch, and there's essentially the other end of the Lost River, but not in the typical place you hit up the Lost River in the woods. You can grab the other end of it kind of under the power lines. And it's cool because it's a little more wide open, and you can kind of interact with it a little more. And I remember specifically there were these 2 young girls in my tribe who were a little more about like they wanted to like look cute, and which is all well and good. Like, sure, that was their thing. They weren't necessarily the
same.
Yeah, they weren't necessarily the rolling around in the grass type of girls. But I remember they were so excited to head down to the river when we got there that they start, tromping around in the river, and the water's only like ankle deep, knee deep at most. Me and my assistant, my CIT are there. We're keeping an eye on everyone. We're all good. And I kind of see these 2 girls, they're getting so excited. They're splashing around in the river. They eventually get like hip deep in mud.
Oh, jeez.
And we kind of hear them saying like, Scott, we're stuck. Ha, 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 ha. They're having a great time.
Right.
But I kind of look over and go, oh, they're like legitimately like stuck. They're not in danger, but they cannot move. I then look at CIT. I go, hey, Mikey, go tromp into the mud and go get those girls out. And He did not even blink. He just went right in.
Love it.
He got super muddy himself. He, helped yank him out. They're laughing. They're having a great time. All right. Everyone's out of the river. All right, let's make our way back to camp. And everyone got a good hosing off when we got back. And
just so I feel like the Lost River had a moment where I didn't think it was, I remember it like not being a thing. And then all of a sudden at a certain point when I was there, so before this, it was all of a sudden, it was like, we were at the Lost River. And then I feel like it did get to the place where Gail was like, no more Lost River. Like people are cutting their feet and losing their shoes. And because again, like we're in charge and we're like, I don't know, go play in the water.
Yeah, go check it out. I remember being a kid and either going to the dam, which was kind of one direction.
Right.
The Lost River was another direction. And we were always pretty much told, like, no, you can't go in it. But like, here we are. Oh, okay, what are we going to do? Like throw sticks in the river now? Hey, this is fun.
Wait, is that, so maybe I'm confusing with the dam. Is the Lost River the one that's near, like as you walk out to the power lines, there are those two campsites? Yeah. Okay. It's out there on the left. Okay. I think I went there only once. And I don't think I obviously did not bring I think maybe my kids brought us there. So I was like, oh, have a look at this.
A 6-weeker knew about it or something.
Yeah. Like they maybe did it at pioneering or something.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but the lesser known part is go all the way out to the power lines, to the blueberry patch, turn left, and then walk all the way downhill, keep going, and eventually you're at it's the same river, but just in a very different setting. So it's a cool spot down there.
Well, you know what else can happen if you take a wrong turn at the power lines?
Oh yeah.
Guess whose house you can end up at?
Sue's house. Because I distinctly remember, so I was always a 6-weeker, so I pretty quickly learned the lay of the land there at day camp. And I remember being kind of younger, and
I like that you call it day camp. Refers to it as day camp.
Am I an old man now?
Who's it? Just camp. The people listening know.
There's no other option. It was kind of a younger camper, and I think our counselor was Jill and Liz. I had the biggest crush on Liz.
Oh, Liz, my friend, Liz Baxter.
Oh, nice. Okay, yep. I can't remember her last name. Yeah. Oh, definitely had the biggest crush on her. But I think there were like 2 tribes of us heading out there, and we went blueberry picking as
you do.
Tons of us do. Yeah. So we're out there having a fun time. Then like, all right, it's time to head back. And I distinctly remember there was a kind of little girl kind of leading us all back. And at one point she turns down definitely the wrong path, because as we all know, you got to go under the chain that has the no trespassing.
That's right.
No, that's the entrance back into camp.
Yeah.
We didn't go under the chain. So we walk a few feet into the woods, and I instantly like, we're going the wrong way. Yeah. I go up to one of the counselors, and I was like, hey, I know I'm only 8, but we're not going the right way. Yeah. Like, we're going the wrong way. Like, let's just turn around and go the right way. No, like this will probably like bring us back. Like, whatever. Like, how many paths could there be in the woods in New England?
Right. Yeah. Notoriously path free. Yeah.
Probably like hundreds.
Right.
So we're walking. And again, I go to the counselor, I go, we're not on the right trail. Let's just cut our losses, turn around, and go the right way. No, well, we've gone this far. We might as well keep going. We walk, and we end up at someone's house in the woods. And thank God it was Sue Rice's house.
Oh my God.
Because at least we then knew where we were.
Right.
And where we were was way too far away from camp.
Yeah, you're like a mile from camp.
Yeah, because now our options are either we turn around, go back into the woods, walk our butts all the way back through the woods, or we start walking down roads and then eventually get onto Pond Street and walk along Pond Street with no sidewalks to try to get back to camp. What do? We took the road option.
Sure.
We slowly get to now the counselor's like, oh, all right, everyone like get in a line and like come on, like shape up. And like now we're getting near a road. This is a little more serious than fun in the woods. And one of the counselors said, like, let's just like flag down the next car that comes by and we'll like,
oh my God.
Oh, because no cell phones. There we go. No cell
phone. Yeah.
I have the image. I can't remember the counselor, but I remember the image of them. They see a car coming, so they get fully in the road and put their hands way up, like, stop, your vehicle. And it ended up being 2 other camp counselors driving in a car.
Yes.
They'd gone to get like supplies for something. And I think it ended up being that like a bunch of us piled into their car and maybe they like eventually like just shuttled everybody back to camp.
Yeah. So I vaguely remember this because you guys were super late, obviously, because you had walked to Medway and it was like noticeable that you weren't at Flag. It was very late.
Sure, yeah.
And then I remember, you were shuttled back and like, that was like very much like a gossip thing started to spread. Like, what happened to the tribe? And it was like, oh, they ended up at Sue Rice's house. And for me, that was literally the first time it clicked in my mind, the layout of the property where like Gail's got 250 acres of land. And like her kids have houses on it because that is like a considerable amount of time of land. And I was like, oh, because I think Shannon told me that. And because, having not grown up in Franklin, I was like, this doesn't make any sense to me. And then I was like, oh my God. And they're like, yeah, they're shuttling the kids back. I can't believe you were part of that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
A thing that has become a tradition that started after I was there is kind of these like at certain like years of service, you get certain swag that's officially licensed, and never was a thing when I was there, but I hear that it shortly thereafter did become a thing. Although I will say I do have an FCDC hat, and it was given to me, I think, in the first year that they thought I was going to leave. But now it is like, I'm not sure the milestone, and maybe you can fill it in, that you get a hat for having been there. And I didn't know, were you there long enough to get that? Like what is your camp swag status?
Yeah, so only you get to see. I'm wearing mine right now, but to describe it to the audience, I gotta say, if you're given some like it's a ball baseball style hat.
Yeah. Baseball style hat.
Well, opposed to Tom's got all the crazy hats. So it's not a cowboy hat, it's not a sombrero, it's not I don't know, it's not a visor, it's a standard ballpark cap, if you will, young lady.
Thank you for the clarification.
And
baseball style cap. Okay, go ahead.
And it is like the ugliest hat someone could ever own. My wife won't let me wear it in public because it's just such a, like, are you 100 years old on the golf course wearing this?
So do you know what it is? I will say it's because it's got no brim, not brim. It's got no structure on the front. So it doesn't like stick up like a traditional ball cap would. But I will say this was the style I would say in the 90s. I remember getting
1890s.
I remember getting hats and cutting out that like webbing to make it fit more like that. So right. I am showing my age as per usual, but anyway, it looks like a perfectly fine hat to me from here.
Yeah. So, as you said, they kind of started giving them out to people who had some longevity at the camps. I don't believe I got one while I was still there. So, I mean, I was only a head counselor for 3 years, which I guess is kind of a short stint, even though my time at camp was from when I was 5 years old until I was 21, 22.
I know. We just stopped leaving. Sorry. Again, didn't realize that. Pushed it. Sorry about that.
So after had stopped working at the day camp. It might have been like 2 summers later, I went back for a visit.
Sure.
So I'm standing in the back of the audience and kind of in between some of the tribes. Tom gets up on stage and goes, "All right, so like got a special visitor here. We got Scott. Scott, come on up. I got something for you." Oh yeah, okay. What? Want to give you the hat, man. Here you go. And I was like, "Oh, sweet. Thanks, Tom. This is great." And I distinctly remember hearing John P start going from the audience going, speech.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not one for coming up with stuff on the spot, hence
Sure.
the 18 bullet points of notes.
Got to do the outline. I hear you. Yep.
So I like kind of froze up. I was like, "Oh no, like thanks. I don't want to, intrude on the show. I'm an outsider now." So I politely bowed away. But
Give us a speech. Give us a speech now.
And I had thought about it for years afterward, or every year afterward, saying the speech that I wish I had made was essentially along the lines of like, to everyone there, counselors and campers, really just try to savor every second that you're there, because it is this amazing place that's unlike anywhere else in the world. You can totally just be free and be yourself, or be different and be different than yourself the rest of the year and be goofy. I would say, take a second if you're like going from one activity to another, maybe take a second, stop on the top of that hill, and just kind of like look around, like see what they're doing at the pool, see what's going on down the hill at games and archery, see if you can see anyone boating, and just kind of just absorb it for a second or two and try to just engrave that in your memory. Then to the campers, I would say, continuing to make every moment count, maybe get in a little trouble too. Not like bad trouble, but like, for example, yeah, I remember I tried to tell a camper to do this one time. So at free swim, before free swim starts, all the kids go, they get changed, and then they got to wait around the pool deck.
Right.
Until
Behind
Kelly,
the gray line. Yep.
Until Kelly gives them the go ahead to get in the pool.
Mm-hmm.
And now the rule is you got to use either the stairs or the ladder.
Mm-hmm.
I remember telling one of the older campers, I think he was in my tribe, I said, "Hey man, when Kelly says you can all go in, just run into a cannonball into the pool." What's she gonna do? and the camper, props to him. He goes, "No, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna fall." And like, all right, that's fun too. Like, but I don't know. Little stuff. Or like, make sure you throw some clay at the wall when you're in ceramics, because when are you going to get a chance to throw clay at the wall again in your life? I don't get to do that ever.
True.
And then I would say to the counselors, really make it all about the campers, because then that will make it so rewarding for you. I was a little more on the like, I'm like the cool guy, so like I'm going to kind of make it more about me, and like the kids will love that. I don't know if they did or not.
They did.
Maybe. I hope so.
I'm sure they did.
But like, do some cool tribe time stuff. Take one night, or even if you're daydreaming at school during the off season, come up with some ideas for tribe time. They don't even have to be great. They just have to be something.
Yep.
The kids will love it.
Yeah.
Have dessert first, and have it every day. Just bring a bag of candy every day and give it to the kids. Who cares?
I did that.
Yes.
I gave them Starburst all the time.
And they loved it.
Yep.
They love that. And also just be pumped about every single thing. Again, maybe I was a little too much like the cool guy, like, I'm definitely going to clap for everything, but I thought I was too cool for school. Be pumped about everything, because that place is awesome and everything that happens there is awesome.
So that is amazing. And I am certain that I wasn't there when you get that hat, but even if you were the too cool for school guy, it didn't matter, because the kids were like, that's my guy, right? Like, so there are kids out there right now who are like, do you remember Scott Sorensen? Like, there just are. And it was like he was so cool, and I'm sure there are kids emulating you right now. Mm-hmm. And it was like, he's so cool, because even if you kind of give off that persona, much as you try to give it off at camp, you're still your most, I don't know if cheesy is the word, but kind of like you're still the greatest version of that you are while you're at camp. Like there are things that you would only say at camp to a camp audience that, even if it's not like how you 100% feel, which I think is the speech that you just gave, but it like that still rubs off a lot. And so as you're a kid experiencing that going into becoming a teenager, that still feels like oh, wow, like this is someone who really cares. So I think that nothing to worry about there. And the other thing I will say, not that this is I'm doing commentary on your speech, but
no, we're giving comments. It's all about comments.
But some notes, Scott. But I 100% agree with you about standing on top of the hill. That is my burned in my flesh memory of camp. When I visualize camp, it's standing on the hill, behind the tent, kind of between the tables where Sam's new office is, and that picnic table over by the gazebo, and looking like doing a 360 panorama, because you can see everything from there. You can see archery games, the bridge, boating, theater. Then you turn around, you see the tent and the pool. Like that is my memory. And when it's funny, I went back one year before Aiden was old enough to go in his, what I call his pre-tenderfoot year. And he had to go to the bathroom at some point. I was like, all right, let's go. So I took a picture of him kind of like running up on that, on the hill. And I posted the pictures. And my camp friend, Aaron, who I went to high school with, was like, this is my memory of camp. And it looks exactly the same. And I am so happy you posted it. And it's just like, I think that's just like, that's the spot where you can get, like, you can take in the most of camp, and you look around and you see like every memory you've had for the most part outside of the woods is there.
Yep.
And it's like, if you can kind of capture that in like a physical setting, like that's the place and that's it. So
definitely.
I like it. So I think you got to go back and give the speech, and you'll go back and we'll go, give the speech. We'll just chant it. And they're like, what? And you're like, listen to the pod. Listen to
I'll bring my wife. I'll get everyone to start chanting Sippin Ci.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I've listened to all of them so far, I think.
Yeah, there, right answer. My audio sounded terrible, but we finished recording and I was like, I don't know about that one. And I was like, this is gold.
That was comical because it was literally like a day or two after I had commented to all the listeners. I asked Sarah here, like, oh, like, so where do you like set up your studio, and like where do you do the interviews?
Oh yeah.
I was like, back, like, are you kidding me? Like,
yeah.
Zoom, baby.
I was like, it's so easy. You don't have to worry about anything, and it sounds great.
Oh, yeah. And I had even said like, oh, I'm surprised because the audio quality is like very good.
Yeah.
The next episode, a few technical issues, but it was still acceptable.
So you know this from like putting together videos and stuff. So my audio was like, it was like fully to the top of the thing. It was like all white. It was like, there's no bass, there's no treble. It's just all sound. And I was like, I put it in and I was like, oh my God, how do I fix this? And I'm like turning the volume down. It's like, well, it's quieter, but you're not getting any more like enunciation. Exactly. I was like, oh shit. I was so like, no big deal. But
this interview was done in a submarine under the Arctic.
Exactly. You guys hear the words, right? So.